What's up, everybody? We are back with another review for you. Today, we are talking about the new single-player game Steel Seed that just recently came out. Steel Seed is a single-player only game. It's a stealth action adventure story game with a linear story, but a kind of central hub that you have to. So essentially, the story is. I don't know why I'm rambling so much already. Normally, that's later in the review. The story is that you are the daughter of this great scientist who has been brought back to life because there is something called seeds in this world where the planet Earth was unfit for humanity anymore. So your character's father created a system to essentially put humanity into seeds that could be replanted once the planet was habitable again. And your job in this is to go to the different nodes of this giant system he's created to house these seeds and keep these seeds alive, and go find shards of his personality and then bring them back to this central hub that has this AI named Savi, S4VA, or S4VI, Savi, however you want to pronounce it. And so you got to go from node to node, make your way through the map essentially, get past these killer robots that are programmed to kill any intruders. Essentially, they're supposed to be protecting these nodes so the seeds can continue to survive, not realizing that you are the scientist's daughter trying to put his personality back together so you can bring humanity back together. And so they are after you through these levels. You got to sneak past them. You got to take them out so you can get the shards, bring them back to Savi so you guys can reconstruct your father and bring back humanity now that the world is habitable again. The game I thought was a lot of fun. It's not super different than a lot of other games that are action adventures with stealth and a sword. But, you know, a lot of those games people really enjoy. A lot of those games people think are really fun. There's a sci-fi twist on it for if you're into sci-fi. There's a save the world twist, which a lot of people like and is pretty common in gaming. I thought it was overall a fun game. It's from a small studio. I want to say it was $40, and I think it was worth the $40, especially in a world where now a Mario game is going to be $80 in June. So with that all being said, as usual, we're going to go through our cons, our so-sos, and our pros. I do have one spoiler pro that I will save for after I say my outro as I normally do. So you don't have to worry about that spoiler. But I mean con, not pro. But I do think it was a disappointing part of the game, but nothing that takes away really from my overall rating and thoughts on this game. So starting off with the cons, like I said, there's 4 nodes that you have to explore, which are the 4 different maps essentially in this story. The performance was great in the in nodes 1 through 3 and in that main central area. But in the 4th node, I had multiple crashes. I had big FPS drops. Now, I was playing on Ultra. I have a 5070, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and a 9800 X3D. So I have a good machine. And so most of the time I was over 100 frames playing on ultra graphics while recording and streaming. So the performance was good. I got to the 4th node, like I said, I had crashes. I dipped all the way down into like the 20s and 30s at some point. I would have it holding in the 40s and 50s. And so the performance in the 4th node or the 4th map was not good. And it was like the section that took me the longest, so it got really frustrating. Another one is checkpoint spacing. And like some of the checkpoints would be like very close together, so you would die and you're like, oh, I didn't go that far back. And then other times, like in a boss battle in the game, you die, you go all the way back to full health, which isn't the biggest deal. But plenty of games, it's a big health bar in sections. Each section is a checkpoint. Or other times you just go way farther back in the map and have to do a bunch of tedious stuff. Well, it became tedious when you had to do it over and over again. So the checkpoint spacing is inconsistent, and sometimes the checkpoints are way too far apart from each other. Maybe that's a me issue, maybe that's a skill issue, but it is an issue that I had. This isn't so much of a con. Well, actually, I'll skip this one and go to the next one and come back to this one. So another con I had, and this is one you've heard me complain before, and it's usually in smaller studio games, and I do understand that their resources are limited, but the animations when speaking, sometimes your mouth just, not your mouth, because your character actually has a face mask, and I think that was to reduce the amount of animations, reduce cost, and reduce time put into this game, which makes sense in a smaller studio with less employees. But one thing that I noticed is characters that didn't have their mouths uncovered, sometimes their mouths wouldn't move, sometimes their mouths didn't quite match the words, and the mouth animations weren't too good. And then finally, for the non-spoiler cons, I have that it was kind of culturally ambiguous, which isn't really that big of a deal. But your father has a British accent, looks Asian. A lot of it feels very Asian cultured inspired, and then that's a big thing, especially in the U.S. right now. You have an American voice, and your face is culturally ambiguous. So the identity, it really comes down to the identity of the world in the game is very ambiguous, and I prefer games to not be so ambiguous. But like I said, that's not really a big one. The list for the cons, the pros, and the so-sos aren't super long because this is only about a 9 to 12 hour game. I finished in about 9.1 hours, according to Steam, is how long my playtime was. And some of that was recording intro, some of that was pausing and running to the bathroom. So it's about 9 hours. A lot of reviews said it was about 12 hours, so about 9 to 12 hours where you can expect this game. So moving on to the so-sos, there's only one. It's very similar to the Jedi series from Respawn, Fallen Order and Lone Survivor. And just the traversal of the maps, the mechanics. I actually do have another so-so that I forgot to write down. The traversal of the maps, the mechanics, the fact that you have a sword. Instead of this time using the Force, you actually have a robot with you, Kobe, who's around you with the whole map. And he can hit switches and stuff instead of you hitting it with the Force. But it feels very much like a clone of that, mixed with like Horizon, and mixed with, I had another game in mind that was like futuristic. I can't remember. It's like a Jedi clone mixed with Horizon, mixed with some other games. It feels like a lot of different games kind of mashed into one, as opposed to a completely original idea. Gaming's been around for so long; it is hard to have the original ideas. So if you like the Jedi games, this is like a Jedi Light game with a different theme and a different world, of course. And so if you like it, it's a pro. But if you're looking for really original experiences, I don't think that this is necessarily one. So that's kind of a con. I put it in the so-sos because I really enjoyed the Jedi games, which led me, partially to enjoying this. But a lot of people just want original experiences, and that's so hard to do. So I definitely want to put it in cons. And now I just forgot my other so-so that I had in my head. I was talking about Jedi, I was talking about traversal. Got it. So another so-so I had is the changes in camera angles, specifically. Sometimes you go through a map and it turns into like a side scroller, and it's not even 2D because you can actually walk yourself off of the edge that you can't track because you're looking at it from the side. You can walk off the edge behind you or in front of you from a camera standpoint. And I'm not a big side scroller gamer. I don't mind it popping in. Like I played Split Fiction with my fiance, and I didn't mind it there, and I don't necessarily mind it here. But if you're just looking for the pure first-person experience or third-person experience, that this game is, with a behind the character camera view, this does jump into side scroller some. And so for some people that's a pro, mixing up the camera angles is fun. People like side scroller games, and for other people like me, that's a con. So it goes on the so-so list. In the pros, and I had this in all caps, is graphics. I thought this game, the worlds, the details, I thought this game was beautiful. I mean, when they show a close-up of your face, only your eyes and the bridge of your nose are skin, but you can see the individual pores. I think the world that they created is beautiful with a lot of detail. The robots up close have a lot of detail. I mean, the detail they put into the graphics of this game are good. There was one node that the lighting was really dark, but you're like underground, so I don't have an issue with that. But the graphics, I thought this game was really beautiful. I thought it was graphically impressive, especially for it being a smaller studio. Another pro is the enemy diversity. Off the top of my head, there's like, not including any kind of bosses, there's like 6 different killer robots that you have to fight. And so I always like when games have enemy diversity, especially from a smaller studio. This game would have been fun if it was just 3 and the 2 or 3 different enemies that are in the first node. But it's like 5 or 6 different enemies, not including any kind of bosses. And so I really like the enemy diversity. And then a small pro is that in the main hub, there's a piano, which there's a piano, big deal. But this is the most customizable, playable piano I've ever seen in a game. You can change from flat to sharp notes. You can change the key of the piano. It's got all the individual piano notes on 2 different wheels. So you can really, if you know how to play piano and you can control this well with probably better with a controller, because left and right thumbstick to go around the key wheels. I didn't play it on mouse and keyboard, so I can't speak to that. But if you really know how to play piano and you're good with a controller, you could legitimately perform songs in this game in different keys, flat and sharp notes. I mean, I've never seen this playable with piano. It's such a small pro, but it just goes to show you the details they can put into this game when they really want to. And I say it like that because I'm still bothered by the mouth animation thing. But I thought this playable piano was so cool. and a really interesting thing to add in a game. And like I said, it's the most in-depth piano I've ever seen. And so that's my cons, my so-sos, my pros. Just really quick going through the non-spoiler cons. The performance in the fourth node was bad. The checkpoint spacing was not great. It was inconsistent, sometimes way too long, sometimes too close together. The mouth animations while characters were speaking were not great. And then the cultural identity of this world was really ambiguous, and I like it to be kind of set, but that's not a huge con. The so-sos were, it's really kind of a Jedi clone and felt like pulled in some ideas from some other games. But like I said, it's a fun game, and I'm definitely not against that. And then, because I don't know why I didn't rewrite it down. Oh, the sometimes switching to like a side-scrolling camera and turning into a side-scroller for parts was another so-so. The pros, the really impressive graphics, the good enemy diversity, and that really detailed piano. So those are my non-spoilers. Definitely go check out this game. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with it. My playthrough is on my single-player channel, which that channel is linked down below. I'll link the playlist as well. So go check that out if you want to watch the playthrough. You want to see some gameplay besides what's behind me in this video. But I definitely think it's worth checking out, especially the price, or if it comes on sale, 100% go get it on sale. It's 9 to 12 hours of fun, good graphics, interesting story, good gameplay. Overall, with this game being a little short and the cons and the pros and everything I do have, I definitely can't give this a 10. I don't know if I've ever given out a 10 since I started doing reviews. It's not a 9. I think to the right person, this game could be an 8. To me, I'm going to go with about a 7, maybe a 7.5. This game's not perfect. I'm factoring price with that a little bit too because it's just cheaper than modern games, and it is a beautiful game. It's an interesting stealth action shooter, and so I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. But thank you so much for watching. If you don't want the spoiler, even if you do want the spoiler, thank you so much for watching. Everyone, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you like this type of content and want to see it first. And comment down below what you think of Steel Seed or my review or whatever. And for the non-spoiler wanners or the people that haven't played the game, I will see you in the next video. Bye. All right, so for everyone else, the one con I had on the spoiler, that's a spoiler. If you played the game or you've watched the game, or you don't care about spoilers, the yellow titan that seems so threatening throughout the game, you see him in the beginning, you see him in each node. That yellow titan, I kept thinking it was going to be a boss fight. It was never a boss fight. Like I said, this isn't going to deduct anything from me, really. But if that was a really good boss fight, it might have added, got me to a 7.5, 8. But you never get to fight the giant titan that's kind of like chasing you throughout this world. And so that was that final con. But like I said, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you like this type of content. Want to see it first? Comment down below your thoughts of my single player channel and this playlist link down below, as well as my Twitch and all my other social medias if you want to follow me anywhere else or watch me game live. But like I said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. She talks a lot. It's not like the robots where they're going to say repetitive things and you can repeat the mouth animation. She has a lot of different lines. So like